in this episode of the Connor Carrick podcast.
Guys like us have to be practice drivers, like
have to.
If one of your top guys is playing 20 minutes the night before, you got to practice and you're playing again, you ain't going to drive the practice the next day. It's got to be us. And I take a lot of pride in that. So if I have a tough practice, I'll be thinking about that all day. I know I got to be a guy that shows up every practice. There's no off days for practice for me.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Connor Carrick podcast. I am your host, current New Jersey Devils defenseman, Connor Carrick. I am very excited today for our conversation with New Jersey Devils centerman, Kevin Rooney. He was undrafted out of Providence College, coming off of a 2015 championship with Division I college hockey over BU. He was the captain in 2015-2016, signed an AHL contract thereafter, eventually achieving an NHL contract February 28th, 2017. And since that day, he's closing in on 100 games as an NHL player. He's truly one of the greatest teammates that I've ever shared a jersey with. He's a brother in every sense of the word. He's a warrior day in, day out. Really practices hard. He's got great habits. He's a leader, and he really doesn't even know it. He's someone that I really enjoy coming to work with every day. And I know that you, our listener, will be able to gain a lot from our conversation today. I know I did. Thank you for joining us. Let's do this. Roons, first New Jersey Devil on. Welcome to the Connor Carrick podcast, man. How you feeling?
Dude, feel great, man. It's an honor to be the first one. It's probably by default, but hey, let's do this, man.
I don't want any of those bullshit, classic locker room answers, man. This is just like we're having dinner and we're going over a little bit of your story and not uncommon to what we do on the road anyway, but I'm excited. I miss you, man. I'm sad our season's over, and I look forward to next year when we get there. But sucks, man.
Yeah, I know it's terrible. It's been brutal.
Just
missing yelling at you on the plane and stuff. Remember
what
that
were you
day?
What are you yelling at me on the plane for?
You're in my head. A couple months later, I'm like, shit, I got to admit
I had the
this
penthouse, the real estate. I was all over you. Yeah, I can get under some guy's skin from time to time. It's a pastime. Those are people are like, what do you do on the plane? I'm like, I give them some lie of an answer. I'm like, usually I read and, or meditate or do something. And it's actually 99% of the time I'm picking somebody out to grill them or go give it to them. Let's start right here, man, because this is a podcast about, the power of habit and the power of dreaming and how to, try to build and be a better version of yourself. And I think, honestly, when you shared this story with me, I thought it was one of the coolest things I've ever learned about any teammate ever in hockey was you first told me out of Providence College why the New Jersey Devils had interest in signing you. And it really, the lesson that I took from it, and I'm going to let you lead with the story, but the lesson I took from it was, man, I have got to show my best in front of every person at every given time, at any given time, all the time, no matter if it's a summer showcase, if I'm out at a practice, I am always trying out, and you'll never know when the benefit will come, when the reward for your work will pay off in any way that it does, and so just start with that, man, because I think that was a sick story.
Yeah, so it was my junior year of college. We had a home and home against BU, probably around December, maybe a little before. But anyways, the first night we had them at home, and they had a good team that year. We ended up playing in the national championship. So I'll just jump to I'll set the stage.
Not a big deal.
Yeah. So we play them at home and home. We play them the first night at home. They got Jack Eichel on their team, Danny O'Regan, Evan Rodriguez. Real good team. We had a real deep team as well too. But they come out the first night, they pump us at home 5-1, 4-1. Eichel had probably 3-4 points. So, we knew we were a little behind them at that point. So we get to the next night we're in BU. Coach calls my line in and says, "Hey, listen, like you guys are the fastest guys that can, keep up with these guys, and your job tonight is shut this kid down." Like I didn't even think about anything on the offensive side of the puck. I'm like, let's just see how this goes. Let's let the other guys take care of the offense. And that night I hit him probably 10 times. He hated me. Like I was killing him, and I started to draw attention to myself. Scouts started calling our coach, and we ended up playing them again in the national championship, and I kind of did the same thing, and we ended up winning it. So a couple years down the road, I heard Ray Shero when he called me and signed me. He told me the story that at the draft, they interviewed Jack, and he asked him who the hardest player to play against was, and he said Kevin Rooney. So that's why they signed me, and it was pretty cool. It was one player I played really hard against, and it ended up helping me down the road.
I got chills, man. Like
yeah.
There's two really high compliments that you're signs of approval that you're looking for as a player. And one is you want your teammates to love you and love playing with you. And I can say that, like, I love playing with you. And I know, everyone that has a chance to do so considers it an opportunity. But you want the guys you're playing against to hate you. And, that's really been, when you look at the numbers of your career, you're a center by nature, but it's been your shutdown ability that has gotten you, from college or even we can go back even further, even from high school hockey, because I was looking up some old stories that came up after your first NHL goal, and we'll talk about that. But really, it's been your decision as you've gotten up through the ranks to be a complete defensive player that's even gotten you in the NHL door. Now you've been here for a solid year and a half.
Yeah,
yeah. So let's start there, because I had a quote that I really liked. It was right after an NHL goal. Someone was interviewing you, and I think they interviewed your high school coach, Brian Schumann. Am I saying that right? From Canton High?
Yeah, that right. Yeah.
He said, quote, "He was the most improved player that I've ever coached from one year to the next. His speed went from above average to exceptional, and strength and everything just improved, and it wasn't by accident. I know how hard he worked that summer. He worked with a strength and conditioning coach, and you'd see him running around town constantly doing something to improve." Where did you get that mindset and that belief that this hard work was worth it and that it would pay off? And kind of where are you hoping to take it next in your career?
Yeah. So, Brian was obviously, important coach in my life. And so I went to Canton High School. My brother was actually a junior at the time. So after my sophomore year, he had been gone, and I was, at that point I was like, he's leaving. So should I move on to the next level? I'm like, you know what? We lost in the state championship the year before. Everyone was writing us off going into my junior year. I'm like, let's just do one more year here, and then I can go to prep school and, play junior hockey and, hopefully go to play college. That's where I was at that point. And we had lost a ton of players from that team. So I'm like, let's come back. We could be good. Like, so I took it to a next level that summer. I think he's right. I mean, I really worked hard. I was like, Bry's gone, my older brother, it's on me now to take over this thing. And we ended up having an amazing season that year. I think I went from like 10 goals my sophomore year to like 35 the next year. So like it was a huge jump, and that really wasn't, that was high school. So yeah, at that point I'm a goal scorer, but I've always kind of had that mindset where I'll do whatever it takes to, win and try to improve myself and improve the team and get to the next level. And, I've had that mindset since then. And, I went on to prep school, and that was a jump for me from there. And, I went to Providence and was a walk-on at Providence, no scholarship, no nothing. Not a lot of people know that about me. I don't really think I've opened up much about that. And, but I think that was the best thing for me, I had to go in there and prove it. Guys were going in there, going to school for free, and I had to go in there and earn a spot on the team. And, that's been kind of my mindset my whole life since I've been, a younger kid is, improve each year. If you keep improving each year, then, down the road, it's all going to pay off. And, after that first NHL goal, I think I really was like, wow, this is really paying off. And, There's steps in between that I celebrated great moments, but at the end of the day, that's why I always kept pushing myself and trying to find an avenue to, or a niche to stick at every level. And that's really been it about me.
That's something I try to give. There's two sides there. There's a physical element where you're really trying to play the game a certain way to carve out a role and earn some ice time that you could borrow for a bigger role, hopefully at a later date. There's also, a mental side where, and I thought about this a lot, for example, when I got injured in Dallas and then again injured this past season. It's easy to get a little down when things aren't going your way, when you are undrafted, when you are a walk-on. It's easy to think that, that's all you deserve, maybe. But I think there's a great opportunity there to earn respect. And as a hockey player, like there's no higher desire than to be respected. It's just kind of our culture. And that was something I always thought about was, okay, if I can bounce back from this, and it's advice I give to, younger players who are going through tough times, like adversity is an opportunity to earn respect. When people expect nothing of you, that is when you can really take them, by surprise. And it really can be leveraged as a huge opportunity. And it's been the story of your career.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, it's, you do whatever it takes. I remember this year even being hurt with you at the same time. We both had the injuries, and when I came back in the lineup, I'm like, all right, what can I do at this point to get these guys respect? They've been seeing me sitting in the stands for the last 4 weeks. Like, how can I gain these guys respect? And I forget who we played. I remember I got in a fight, and
I think it was wasn't it the Rangers?
Yeah, it was the Rangers. I got in a fight. Yeah. I'm like, no business getting in the fight, just coming back from a broken hand. And, it's just little things like that. I always want to, be there for teammates, just keep improving. And when you get set back from an injury, it's always tough. And we're trying to work on things that we need to improve on, while we're hurt. And ultimately, just so when we get back, we can gain that respect that you talked about. And, there's a lot of adversity there. And I've actually, knock on wood, but I've been lucky with, injury luck. And this year I was honestly lucky to be with you at that time. And I hated seeing you go through it, but you helped me a lot. And that's why I think we have that mutual respect for each other.
Well, let's talk about that, because, I do think you've got to get creative in times of adversity or tough play. And what are some things like, are there any values that you really attribute to, or do you have a mantra? Like, what does Kevin Rooney do when things are not going well, whether versus injury, you're not scoring, you're in out of the lineup? Doesn't matter. They all feel shitty at the time. What do you do to maintain that resiliency and that relentlessness? Because I view you as that. I see you as a very resilient teammate. I've been with you night in, night out. I've seen you get gutted by, bad news from a coach. You're not in the lineup tonight, and be able to, shake it and be positive within the hour. Or at least, not letting it get into your practice play or anything like that. What do you do when things get hairy, when things get tough?
Well, I think during that time I was, confidence is a huge thing with me, and it's a big thing throughout, the whole league. I mean, if you don't have confidence when you're out there in this league, it's hard. It's really hard. And I think one of the things I did this year is I worked with a video coach that helped me, put together my shifts. Like, this is great. Like, all these great shifts, in the past it was always like, all right, what can I do better? What can I do better? And a little bit this year when I was struggling and I was coming back from the injury, it was all like, this is the Kevin Rooney when he's playing well type of things to do. And I love that. I mean, I was out of the lineup, but I was going back to my hotel room watching, highlights of myself from the previous year or good moments from this year. And I think those things really helped me pick me up and realize, hey, I've done it here. I can do it again. What's this all about? I'm getting scratched a couple times, but that's okay. I've done this before. I can do it again. So that really helped me this year and a lot. I needed more confidence. I needed to, as a team, we were struggling. And when you're struggling as a team and you're a role player, you take heart. It gets you heart, So, there was difficult times, but I think, with all that, staying positive, and obviously I'm a realistic kid, but I'm obviously trying to be positive around the room and be upbeat. I don't have the dance moves that you do, but I'm trying to.
No one does, man. It's all right.
I'm trying to come to the rink every day, no matter what, and be a good teammate and support the guys that are in that night, because you got to win, and especially for me, if you're not on winning teams, it's tough to keep it going in this league. So that's it was exciting to see us play really well at the end of the year, and I think you can attest to that. How well we played towards the end there.
Well, I think there was even a shift in our culture in the room. Things were tough. There were expectations at the beginning of the year. It was a shame. Ray Shero was the guy that traded for me. I signed you. John Hines was the one that I played under to earn the 2-year deal I'm on. He was the first guy that gave you your real chance to stick in a lineup night in, night out. But it's interesting to me that I started doing the same thing at the individual level, where I really started to focus on my strengths. Like, everybody in the NHL has weaknesses, but what are my strengths and how can I do them more consistently? And I think that works both at the individual level, but also was part of our team plan too. I thought, towards the end of the year, there was more focus on what was building momentum for us as a team. And I think that created clarity around what our job was as individuals.
Yeah, no question. I think, definitely over the last 2 months before obviously what happened, we were coming in the video room, guys were feeling good about their games. There was things that, X's and O's that the coaches were, talking to us about, but most of what we were doing at that time was all positive and, reinforcing, the good habits in our game. And I agree with that.
So in terms of like dreaming for what's next, right? Because that's always where we're at as athletes. It's a unique offseason, plenty of time for, projects or to get aggressive with anything that, you think will help your game. What is your goal for this particular offseason? Have you spent, or is it still too distant out? Are you still just trying to stay fit and going about it as a normal offseason?
I'm kind of doing a couple things. I'm trying to get my mind away from it a little bit. I got a project going on the side. Hasn't been announced yet, but actually I can just bring it up. But
let's jam. Let's plug it.
Yeah, this is great. You're going to have to clip this, put it on. But I'm starting a Kevin Rooney hockey school last week, August. So just in my hometown, I played for a high school hockey team there. I love to, give back and, help the kids, develop on the ice, but most importantly, try to share some of the lessons I learned with, with playing with guys like you. And so I'm trying to put some of my attention towards that. And I got a couple people helping me, which is great. And I'm looking forward to that a lot. But then, obviously, there's still important parts of my game that I, really want to focus in on this summer. And we're just kind of getting back onto the ice here. So it's a little early, but trying to stay in shape and, hoping I can improve, a couple different things, leading into next year. And, we'll see where that will be. It stinks with the uncertainty going into this offseason, especially for a guy looking for a contract.
Well, first off, congrats, man, on in the face of, a worldwide pandemic, the uncertainty of being a UFA, unrestricted free agent, going into next year, like the ability to create and give back and in the form of a hockey school, what you know and do best and what you love and feel comfortable teaching, like that's no small feat. And I'm really excited for you and the relationships you're going to gain. This is cool. I had a kid, to make it all about me for a second. I had a kid I saw on Instagram the other day from another coach I follow, and I recognized the way this kid held his stick, but I wasn't sure if it was a kid that came to my hockey school the year before because he looked a lot bigger. He was young. He was like 8 or 9. This little kid, Leo's his name. And I messaged the guy, I said, "Is that Leo? Like, he looks awesome." And it was like, yeah, he'd grown so much in a year. He was like powerful on his turns. He was holding his stick with more authority, like roofing it under the bar. And like, you're going to have some of those relationships where, we both have them. We have coaches that were really important in our development growing up. For you, it was Brian Schumann. For me, I had, Darren McCluskey was a big coach of mine growing up. Nick Polis was another guy. Larry Pedri, where you can be that guy to somebody, man, and that's awesome. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, that's a great experience. I'm hoping that I can have a similar experience to you, down the road, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what, in terms of strengths as a player, how are you doubling down on some of those? Because I know you as like relentless defensive player. We talked about the story with Jack Eichel and doing your best to, try and shut someone of his offensive caliber down. Because there really are only 3 players in the NHL. There's your stars, there's guys that can play with the stars, and there's guys that shut the stars down. Right? And I think, the goal, for us is probably to be 2 of those last 3. The last 2 of those 3. And so what strengths as a player are you really going to try to double down on this summer?
Well, I think my skating is my biggest asset, and I think using that to my advantage a little bit more, being able to, beat D one-on-one, cut back corners. Those are some of the staples in my game. Getting to the net, trying to find ways to get more puck touches in the offensive zone. I think my penalty killing is exceptional at this point, and I think my instincts are great. And there was opportunities this year where I could have produced even more offensively on the PK. And I think if I can produce in the offensive zone and be a better hockey player in the O zone, I could be more of a complete player. I think, at this point in my own end, through the neutral zone, details, I think all of that's there. I don't think that's going to go away. So now it's about finding ways to get open, get the puck more, be in the right spots. Just for an example, I went through with my video coach about just puck touches up high in the offensive zone this year. There just wasn't enough, and that's something I'm really going to focus in on. And I've already talked to skills coaches like Adam Nichols about finding ways to do it. And he told me Austin Matthews last summer didn't even work on his one-timer once, and this year I think he had 20 one-timer goals or something. So there's a lot more to the game than just skill level. I think there's parts of the game I can think a little bit better, and I'm going to focus in on some of the video aspect, but also be on the ice once it gets crunch time. Be on the ice working on those things. It's like you said, it's a long off season, so you don't want to burn yourself out, but there's ways to improve, at any point during the year. We're pro athletes, so we got to be working 365 days of the year. So, I think some of those things in the offensive zone will be huge for me. All this time will be huge for me to improve on that stuff.
Yeah, I think you have to do that in the NHL. You have to continue to remember what you're good at, and then just try and have systems in place. Whether it could be for me, it could be a phone call with my dad, or a conversation with my agent, or like some trusted. I have my own video coaches, that I'll call up and say, man, I feel like my shots aren't getting in the net enough. I'm not getting my offensive touches. What's going on there? And you have to be creative, and this is a good opportunity to do so, because it is, while you're always trying to get better, it is difficult in an 82 game season to pick your head up and like recognize patterns, because it is so fast. I think it's a great opportunity, for both of us, to try and, solidify ourselves further as NHLers next year. I think it'll be a big season, for both of us. We've both been, grinding it out a little bit the last couple of years in and out of lineups, and we're at the age where, we can really solidify and take off and be a solid role player, and hopefully even more thereafter. Or it can be more of the same and we continue to struggle. And, I want to talk about, next, one of the things I think was really cool about, your career was in 2018, you were announced the Binghamton Devils captain. So you're an AHL captain. And at that time, I think from 2016 to mid to late 2019, you'd only had 5 NHL games at that time. What was going through your head at that point in your career? Because the longer you're in the AHL, the easier it is to keep you there. Of course, if you're playing well, you'll always get your shot. Like, the NHL is not going to sleep on players that are NHL ready. But what was going through your head? You obviously want to be a leader in your room and you want to be a good enough player that you're valued as a captain, that's a huge accomplishment. You know, I've never been a captain in pro hockey, and it's a huge goal of mine, actually. But you also don't want to be there too long. So what progressed from there?
Yeah, so it was tough. We had a couple good teams in Albany when we were in Albany. Of course, you remember those playoff series.
What a war,
where we were right. Yeah, couple wars, battles against the Marlies, and when we kind of moved over to Binghamton, we kind of lost our core group of leaders, and there was no real reason for that, but I think it was almost time for the next group of guys to step up, and I think Fitzy and Ray had been in the organization at that point for 3 or 4 years, so they wanted to see kind of some of their guys come in and show some type of leadership. And I remember that year when Mark Dennehy called me into his office and told me they were going to announce me captain. The first thing I said to him was, my goal is to play in the National Hockey League. And he was like, we know Roons, like, we think you're still could be an NHL player. We like the way you play. And I think some of these young guys can really look up to, how you go about your business, how you play, how you treat people off the ice. And, I was honored. I really was. I was scared to make the phone call home to my dad because, our goal is to, play in the NHL. Like, that's what we talk about all the time, dinner table. And, when we go down the Cape and stuff. And so, but he was really happy for me. And I think a lot of people were, and I was a little surprised that I didn't hear like, oh, that's it. Roons, you're a captain now in the AHL. Yeah, it wasn't that. It was, guys still pushing to get me there, and the coaches, the development staff still working with me. And, I was really lucky. I was honored to get named that. And I think later in that season I got called up, and then that's when you came over. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was at the end of, no, you're right. Because that was not at the end of, that was not this past year. It was the end of the year before. Yeah. All these trades, they tend to add up, but it's hard to remember.
Yeah. My game changed a little bit at that point, and I was kind of disappointed in myself. I was producing some points, but the puck wasn't going in the net for me at the start of that season. And then they gave me an opportunity right around January to come up and see what I got. And I think within my first couple games, I scored, and I started playing well, and then I just kind of stuck for the rest of the season. And that's when we started forming our friendship. And but to be named captain of a professional hockey team at the age of 25, like it's an honor. I'll remember that forever. And I can't thank Fitzy and those guys enough for giving me that opportunity.
Yeah, and I had to ask about that because it's something I've never experienced, and it is kind of a weird, like, hey, this is a great honor, and but just so we're both clear, I do want to play up in the bigs. Yeah. Like, this is, I want to grow, roots too strong down here. And you talked about your first NHL goal. You had a quote after you'd scored, because it is, for whatever reason, it is a huge monkey off your back, especially as a forward. I feel, once you get your first point or your first NHL goal, you can kind of throw the shoulders back and really start playing. But you said these opportunities don't come around too often, so I want to make sure that when the end comes, that I don't have any regrets. And before you answer, as a teammate, you have a high level of care. Like, I can tell you deeply care about what you're adding to the room. Teamwork means a lot to you. Friendship means a lot to you. And you really do, in my opinion, go about your day-to-day career in an admirable way that you're reverse engineering what you want. You are looking ahead of, retirement comes for all of us. And you are consciously choosing every day to go about your career in a way so that you will not have any regrets. You are not missing the moment. And I hope, I don't know if that's obvious to you, but I have a lot of respect for the way that you carry yourself in our room. And, I know you are UFA, but I really hope we get a chance to play together again. But what does that mean to you when you want to go through the NHL without any regrets? What does that look like?
Well, I think just it goes back to what I talked about earlier, like I've really had to kind of work for everything I had. And, I know like I said, I know these opportunities are tough to come by, and I had gotten called up a couple times before, and I've had good games, but like there's guys like me, we could be replaceable. Like if you're gonna get called up for a couple games and not do much offensively, or not do much on the penalty kill, or stand out in a certain way, then your chance could come by quick. And I think like I said after that game, I was like, just getting the monkey off the back. I started loosening up in the room a little bit. I felt like I belonged a little bit, which is tough. You're playing with guys you don't really know because you're in the minors the whole year, and you just see them on TV. You watch the New Jersey games when you're in the minors, and all you do is really dream about being up there. And when you get your chance, you want to make the best of it. And you know how valuable you are, and you want to show these guys as quick as possible. And I think, once I got that first one, I was like, I think I could belong here now, and that's kind of how I took it. And I've always really cared about my teammates, and I just want to win. I want to always win no matter what level I'm at, and I think teams need guys like me and guys like you, and that's how you win. You build a team through role players, superstars. You draft great players, and I think I could be that player for the Devils.
And what fuels that belief that you have in yourself? Like, was it, you talked about Brian, you've talked about your dad, who I know you're close with. I got a chance to meet on the father's trip. Like, what really fuels your belief that you can continue to get better as an NHL player, that you can be a part of Stanley Cup playoff and hopefully a Stanley Cup winning team?
Yeah, I think a little bit of it has been doubt along the way. Like I mentioned earlier, like it's I got asked by one Division I college to come play for them. I was a walk-on, undrafted player, signed an American Hockey League deal, and I've always had that in the back of my head. I'm going to prove it wrong, but I'm going to prove these people wrong, and I want to just continue to keep doing that. Obviously in a humble way, and do it the right way. But I like looking back at all the people that doubted me, and kind of smiling at them.
There's nothing wrong with some edge, man. Like you need some edge. You need some fire, in your game. And as a person, I know I burn pretty hot in terms of, my own ambition to it's twofold for me. Like I want to prove people right. I've had some people believe in me from a young age. I was a little bit other side of the coin. I was a drafted player, not as high as I'd liked, out of the U.S. development team. I was really unhappy with the way those 2 years had gone. I don't think my development was on the path that I wanted it to be on. Was able to go to the OHL, went to the Plymouth Whalers, played really well, went through an extensive playoff run, kind of had an opportunity to, carry the rock more and play with the puck and be on a power play and that kind of thing. But I don't know, for me, I think it's twofold. Like I both want to prove people wrong, for sure. People that have, traded me or, after coaches have scratched me, there's an element to that, but I also want to prove people right. Like, my dad has believed in me from, 4 or 5 years old, and then, 9 or 10 really, that I could be, a professional. The question in our home was always, why not you? Like someone's going to play in the NHL, Connor, why not you? So what lessons did are you bringing to the table as an NHLer, from your family or from your childhood that you still really lean on in tough times in particular?
I don't know. I was always a, pretty energetic kid. I didn't really like to sit still, and I'm not really big into movies or anything. I'm always out there and, playing. And I think, that's kind of my dream, is to continue to keep playing this game that, once as a kid, I just played for fun. And, now making it my job has been a dream come true. And I love the game so much. And, that's why I'm kind of giving back this year. I'm like, listen, this game's done so much for me. I've met so many great people, so many great stories, played in so many meaningful games along the way. Like, I want to share some of these experiences, with the kids in my hometown. And, I think there's a lot of things from my childhood, my parents, that really like stick with me today. And, yeah, I'm fortunate for sure because I had probably 10 cousins. I was the youngest, not anymore because everyone's having kids, but I was kind of the youngest, and everyone played hockey, and it was always like Kev, like you're gonna do it, and I'm like, all right, I'll do it. My older cousin played at BC. His brother played at Providence with me. My brother played at Stonehill. Cousin Jackie, she played. Like we all played. Like all the Rooneys played. It's a big hockey family, and I was the youngest, so they always kind of pushed me the hardest, and I continue to keep pushing myself really hard, and I'm also very hard on myself. I demand a lot, and if it doesn't go my way, I might not sleep that night before the next game, and I know in my head that I'm going to come back and be a better player, and so some of those things when I was younger that are still definitely going on today.
So what, as a player, isn't going on any longer in your career? So what's something you used to do as a youth player or as a young professional even that you have on purpose decided to stop doing?
Ooh. I'll tell you a good story. I don't know if this wouldn't be me, of course, now, but so I was when I was younger, I was like a pretty good player. Like I probably might, like then when we went up to like the Silver Sticks tournament one year, I was like, my dad told me, he was like, you had like 10 goals in 4 games, and it was like awesome tournament. Like, so I was good, like really when I was younger, and then kids got bigger, checking started and stuff. So I kind of fell off, but I had a game up there in that Silver Sticks tournament. I think I scored my 4th that game, and I came back to the bench, and some kid on our bench was like, hey, how many goals do you have? And I took my glove off and put 4 up, and my dad saw it in the stands right after the game, ripped me. Like, you don't do that. You don't tell people how many goals you score. This is about the team. Like, that's unacceptable. We don't do that here. And like, since that day, I remember like seeing his face and how I was so scared. I was like, I don't even think he's going to let me play in the next game. But yeah, like just being put in your place, like when you're younger, like I'll never forget that time.
Yeah. Hockey culture, man. Hockey dads, they'll hold you accountable. Like it's gotta be, team first. And yeah, exactly. That's awesome. That's awesome. What a time our dads had on the dad trip. What a gift that was. So between
that was awesome.
Between the national championship, your first NHL goal, maybe the dad's trip, what has been the absolute highlight of your hockey career thus far?
So like as far as on the ice, or I think it's something that happened kind of off the ice that's still relatable. Is that
go with
okay
that?
Too?
Go with that. Yeah.
So it was like after my year of college, I signed an American League deal. I was playing in Albany, and it was right around free agency. And I think if you're on an American League deal, you have to sign those players before, like the end of before the free agency, so that you can have their rights for the next year, I guess. But I didn't realize that at all. I'm just on an American League deal playing, and it was like right before the trade deadline, I got a call from Ray Shero and was like, hey, we want to sign you to an NHL contract. And I was like, wow, like this is amazing. So I called my dad. It was like a Monday. Called my dad, told him, and everyone was so excited for me. I'm like, oh, it's great, but like I'm still in the American League. Like I was still gonna play down here. So bunch of the guys on the team, we had a great crew of older guys that year. Luke Gazdick, Ben Sexton, Andrew McWilliam. You know all the guys. I mean, you played against some of the other guys. So Luke Gazdick calls me up. He's like, hey, Wednesday. He's like, hey, like I'm having a couple of the boys over. Like we want to celebrate your contract. They got me a cake. I was like, this is great. I'm a rookie.
That's
like
awesome.
These older guys. So they get me a cake. We come over. Like we have dinner. We go over to his place, and I'm sitting at the table, and I see my phone ringing, and I don't have the number. It's just a New Jersey number. I'm like, hey, boys, do you mind if I like pick this up? They're like, dude, definitely pick it up. Like, they kind of know, I think. They're probably like, what? Yeah, New Jersey. Why would anyone else be calling them at 8 o'clock? So it ends up being Rick Kowalski, the coach that time in the minors, and tells me I'm going up the next day to play against the Capitals. And just being able to call my dad and I told them to put my mom and my brother on speaker, and I told them together. It was really special. I'll remember that, that phone call forever.
Yeah, I think my first NHL game was in Chicago. I make the Washington Capitals out of training camp. And then it was so fast, I almost didn't even have a chance to capture it. I wasn't really ready to make the team. I had no idea I was really on the radar prior to that training camp. I get sent down after 3 games. I go down to the minors. I get hurt for a bit. I go to World Junior. I come back. And I think I still have the voicemail from Doug Yinks, the GM of the Hershey Bears. I missed his call telling me to call him back. And then I was going to end up, having to fly to Tampa Bay the next day. I think that's really one of my favorite parts about being a pro athlete is being able to share it, and you're doing it with the hockey school, being able to share it with your family and your community, because it's not just your dream. So many people respect how hard it is to even get a single day, a single cup of coffee in the NHL. We've been able to stick around longer than that, but that's one of the things I'm most proud of as I look back is the ability to share and reminisce with, my loved ones, really.
Yeah, I know. And it's weird, especially coming home, there's a lot of people, that almost look at me a little different. And I'm like, there's no reason for that. Like, I'm no different than I was when I was in high school at Canton. And, I'm just working hard and trying to keep improving. Like, there's no fame here coming home to Canton and stuff. There should be none of that because I'm still the same person I was then.
That's awesome. So let's continue to highlight what you're going to try and do. Like, what is your next dream as an NHLer? Because you've gutted it out every step of the way, from high school hockey to prep to college to getting an AHL, deal out of college to gutting out an NHL contract. What is, your real next dream, personally?
Yeah, well, I think, going into the summer, it's my first year I've been a UFA. I haven't been a UFA, at any point during my career. And I'm just excited to go through the process. Like, I've never been through it. I've never talked to any other teams other than New Jersey. I've never been in a position to be. And I love my time in New Jersey. I would love to be back in New Jersey. And there's just so much uncertainty at this point. And, but yeah, my next dream is to, sign a, maybe potential multi-year contract with an NHL team and establish myself as a complete everyday player. And there was a couple setbacks last year with injury and being out of the lineup a little bit. But my goal is to play 82 games in the league one year, and I really want to do that. I think I can do it with, all the time I got to rest my body and then, come back as a new Kevin Rooney. And I'm excited about this offseason and where it's going to take me. And that's kind of what I'm looking forward to at this point.
Yeah, I want to explain that for anyone that listening maybe doesn't know what UFA means. We're talking about an unrestricted free agent. So the way you come up in the NHL is you're either drafted or signed like Kevin was as a free agent. And then there's sort of these contract levels that you go through where they can restrict your rights and they can retain negotiating rights with you based on jumps in salary. So this will be the first time that Kevin's really able to, kind of test the open market and just have an honest reflection from the league of how he's done thus far. It's nerve wracking. I'm UFA after next year. And very similar. I've been on a couple different organizations, but never had full autonomy to see, what the full, market, what the full, range of NHL clubs, what they think of me in terms of offering. It's an interesting time, man, and it's got to be exciting.
Yeah, it certainly is. And so much of me loves New Jersey too. It's like, it's an interesting spot in your career for sure.
Well, let's talk about that. What do you love about New Jersey? Because I think, a lot of people asked me about how the last year went, which was tough. I was super excited initially to get traded there. The team was struggling at the time, in the bottom of the standings there. And this past year, we were excited to turn the corner, and we kind of didn't, which was really tough to bear. But in terms of the quality of people in our locker room, I loved coming to the rink every day. I thought we had a culture that, guys still wanted to get better. It was a competitive team. day in, day out. It was a proud group. Between you and Johnny Hayden and, Travis Zajac and Kyle Palmieri and Corey Schneider and Mackenzie Blackwood, PK Soup, like on and on and on. I have great friends on this team. And change is a part of the beast of pro sport, but there was a lot for me anyway that I really enjoyed about coming to work every day this past year.
Yeah, me too. It was obviously a frustrating year because you knew how much guys cared about each other and cared about winning. And I don't think we ever lost, that bond as a group. It obviously didn't go as we planned, but we were a tight group. And there's so many great people in that locker room, so many great coaches, management from the top down. Like it's really first class. And then you got the fan base. The fan base is just amazing. You got blue collar people, which I love. You got a tough New Jersey Devils fan base, and you come in there, and when we're playing well, we were tough to play against at home. And at the beginning of the year, we lost a couple big leads, and we let those people down. But I felt like as the season went on, we started showing them some hope for what we have to show in the future. And I think the Devils got one of the brightest futures in the league for sure, with some of the young talent and signings that they've made. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to, no matter what, always following the Devils.
Yeah, man, I hope you're back. Like, makes me sick thinking about it. But I gotta ask you, when I first came in, what did you think of me when I got traded there? Because I'm curious, because we did go to war against each other. When Roons was with the Albany Devils, I was trying to impress as a Toronto Marley, and we had probably one of the biggest, baddest playoff series. Here, let's go back there. So what did you think of me during that playoff series? Because that was nasty. Like, that was some of the meanest, toughest hockey of my career.
Well, are you only bringing this up because you led the league and led the playoffs in points that year, or what?
I just wanted to hear you say it. That was against you on the PK too. I was ripping you guys up.
No, but some of the Marley series were awesome. I mean, just make you such, just what you play for. You grind it out all season. I getting these series, best of 5, best of 7 series against these guys, and you play every other night. And that's what our dream is, to do that against someone now in the NHL. But yeah, like when you first came over, I think you fit in right away. Easy guy to get along with, and I liked you right away because you're a competitive guy in practice, and you need those guys throughout the year. I say that to Hades all the time. He laughs at me, but we guys like us have to be practice drivers.
Have to.
If one of your top guys is playing 20 minutes the night before, you got to practice, and you're playing again, like, he ain't gonna drive the practice the next day. It's got to be us, and I take a lot of pride in that. So if I have a tough practice, like, I'll be thinking about that all day. Like, I know I got to be a guy that shows up every practice. There's no off days for practice for me. So I appreciated that in you, and I think you gained the respect of the coaches. Obviously you signed a great deal after. I mean, so right when you came over, you were very well respected. So it was a huge addition.
I think I had to practice. I think I had to practice hard. Like, we had, a lot of the veteran guys were still out. So, it was a younger group right when I got over from the trade. And remember the meeting that John Hines had when I first got there? It was the one after the Rangers game. I meet him. I walk in his office. Yeah, it was the Rangers at home. And I walk in his office, and I was the first day there. He goes, "Hi, Connor. Nice to meet you. This is how we play." Very professional. I always, I have a lot of respect for, John Hines and the way he ran our room. And he goes, "I need you to know." I thought this was hilarious. I called my dad right after. He goes, "I need you to know, I can't have you on your back foot today. Like, we're going to have a tough video session this morning, and you're going to see it. Obviously, you weren't a part of the game, but you're going to need to be a part of the response. And we're going to have a pregame skate that's going to reflect our meeting. You're a big boy. You're a professional. Good luck. We look forward to seeing you play." And basically we did that drill where you bring both nets into the corner, and we're playing 2-on-2 box out, 6 hours before the game. I was so fired up, like, because you kind of feel weird cross-checking your first teammate. I don't know, you've never been traded, but if you ever do walk into a locker room, like there's that first day where you got to go after your new teammate who you kind of don't know all that well yet. And like I remember I was actually like grateful. I'm like, oh, awesome. He gave me like a total pass to be a go hard in practice today. And we just went to war, man. It was a lot of fun.
We did that once and we won, so that ended up being like the norm for a little while.
It was a staple. Yeah, we were cross-checking at 10:38, 18 minutes in the pregame skate or whatever. We'd be cross-checking, getting ready for a 7:00 game. I loved it. Didn't bother me. It wasn't too long. It was fair.
No, it was fair.
It was fair. I like how you put that practice driver, because you really are. You have such a consciousness to purposely, like, I can tell you scan the room, you try to scan the team, take a pulse, like see what does the team need that I can leverage my assets to provide. And that is a huge skill as a professional, a huge separator between guys that make it from the American Hockey League to the NHL, from guys that continue to progress year in, year out in college. I talked to Zach Hyman about a similar thing, conversation he had with Red Berenson, where the head coach at Michigan, where, Red just sat him down and basically said, listen, you're doing the right things. But at the end of the day, you're going to need to do something better than somebody to play in the NHL. You're going to need a specialty. You're going to need a role. And I think, with the skills coaches and things like that all the development that youth kids have nowadays is great. But my advice would often be, and I'm sure you'll talk about this even with your hockey school, like, that's all great. You always have to be building your physical skill set, but there's a mental component, to this game that you've got to be cognizant as a professional. You've got to be aware of what the team needs and be able to step in and provide it, or else someone else will.
Yeah, definitely. And I like how you said the pulse of the room, because it's, I might not have said it like that, but that's exactly what it is. And, if you're coming into the rink, like we both like to get there a little early. Like, I want to see guys come in. Like some days I'm like, let's see how, maybe Jack Hughes is coming in the rink today. Like just, if he's a little down, let's see how we can help him today be his best. And that's something I've, taken pride in a little bit. And there's obviously the you that you got to worry about too. You got to be a little bit selfish, but when it comes to those practice days and those morning skates that might be tough during the grind of the year, you gotta know how to react and what to give that day.
Well, and it's kind of like there, NHL locker rooms kind of sniff out guys that are being a little too pompous or too cheerleady like. But if you can, there's a difference between using like the social tact to know when a guy's in a scoring slump. And maybe you can check in with him that day, say what's up, see how he's doing. And there's something about scanning the room. Okay, the locker room's kind of dead. We've played 4 games in 6 nights with travel. I gotta start dancing around and doing crazy shit to get the boys going. Whatever it is, like I think that's a skill set that you have that makes it so much fun to play with you. And guys like Johnny, Hayden, we really got along. The three of us really well. I don't know if you can practice it, but it's something that, I would guess it believes it exists in every culture, whether it's in a business world, or other lines of work. But I definitely know in hockey, like it's such a important skill set to have, or at least to know exists,
Yeah, definitely.
I have one question about what role curiosity has played in your life, because it's something that I'm trying to really get in tune with on, we're still kind of on quarantine as we record this. Things are softly opening up. But, when I was younger, I used to have such a close relationship with curiosity. Everything was in the framework of how good can I get? It was never, I'm going to keep the ball up in the air and play hacky sack, with my hockey stick. It was never like I'm going to do 3 sets of 10 or 3 sets of 20. It was always, how many can I get? how long can I keep this game going? And it's something I've really tried to tune in with in my training now, is to make it less of like a check the box experience and more of an inquisitive, like endless journey that there is no end to this progress. So I'm curious, what role has curiosity played in your personal life or your NHL career, whichever one seems more fitting?
Yeah, I think I try to lean on a lot of guys, especially guys, I look up to and I respect, I think. So even when I was younger, like always be trying to learn in a new way. I always try to be asking people, how'd you do that? And I think you're a little bit like that. You might be even more like that than me. But yeah, I think even when you came in last year, I was like, yeah. Even when I came in last year, I was like right away kind of like, hey, what do you know about this guy? Because I'm like, I can see this guy probably could teach me a little bit. And I try to pick people's brains a lot. And I think that's been a huge part of where I am, because when I was younger, like I said, I had, those older cousins to look up to, and I could ask them questions about, their experience. And I try to all bundle that into making myself better and using that to my advantage. And yeah, and that's, there's some captains that I've had along the way that have taught me great things, and coaches, and yeah, so I think I'm always trying to get better. There's always curiosity in the way of finding ways to use somebody else's strengths to help me, and yeah, I want to continue to do that. There's different skill coaches I've worked with, and it hasn't been for consecutive years, maybe for a reason. Like there's new things I want to learn about, and there's new coaches and my different mindsets I want to find out about, and that's the way I kind of want to do it. And that's kind of always how I've always done it, and just finding different ways to be better, but a better person and a better, obviously, hockey player.
Yeah, that's something I connected with there, where I always thought everybody kind of learns from their own mistakes, right? But really smart people tend to learn from other people's mistakes. And that's something I've applied to, my hockey career, especially trying to study careers that are similar to that I want to have, similar to, players that I looked up to, or the other side of the coin, try to pick out patterns of guys that have, gone south in a hurry, where their careers ended, maybe abruptly, or they didn't get the opportunity that they, on paper, it looked like from afar that they should have gotten. I've tried to learn from their mistakes. It's an art form. The NHL is so competitive. And, I hope you're proud of yourself, man, for the, what you've been able to carve out for yourself. You've really done well at every level, and you have tremendous respect from everyone that I know, that I've talked about on your behalf. And I love playing with you, man. And I hope we're doing it again next year. I miss you. I'm sad about it. Yeah. I'm all shook up now. I'm gonna call somebody and tell them to sign you again for next year. And I wouldn't say I'm, sleeping with a ton of security myself. When you have a year like we did, we're all under review. But I hope we're a part of the solution, man.
Yeah, I think, guys like me and you, like I said earlier, really can be. So I hope I'm playing with you again soon, for sure.
Well, if we can't be our own fans, who is, right?
Yeah.
Roons, this was awesome, man. I miss you. Stay healthy out there. Keep jamming. I look forward to cross-checking you, as soon as I get my hands on you. But you're the best, man. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for being the first Devil, man.
Yeah, thanks, Steez. I really appreciate it, man.
Anytime. I hope we get to do it in person soon. Sit down and
wait, one more thing.
Yeah, what do you got?
Would you be interested? I should have brought this up earlier. Coming on to my getting at my camp on Zoom and maybe answering some questions for the kids.
No problem.
I'm really putting you on the spot right now.
No problem. Yeah, no problem.
On your own podcast.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll talk about
when is it?
It's the last week, August 24th to 28th. So you pick a day that week that is easiest for you, and we'll find a time.
We'll see. Maybe I can get out there even. Maybe if travel's normal and things like that, get out to your place on the Cape or whatever, and make a time of it. Maybe I'll come visit you. Get on the ice with Adam or somebody, or I don't know enough guys out there in Boston, but. All right, man. I look forward to it. Zoom at the least, I promise. Zoom at the least.
Zoom at the least.
Zoom at the least. Where can people find you on Instagram if they want to find more information out about your hockey camp, or just anything about what you're doing and following you as you go through, the summer and into next year.
So yeah, I'm going to get most of it out on my Instagram. I'm going to start an Instagram page. I'm trying to get it out before the 4th, but the hockey school is krhockey.com. So you can check out that for now, and then you'll see some more as we keep going with this.
That's awesome, man. Thanks, Roons.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the camp, man.
Yeah.
And I look forward to doing it again soon, bro. Thanks for your time.
Sounds good. Thanks.
See you, brother. To wrap things up today, I really want to say thanks again to Kevin Rooney. It's no wonder why he was the first New Jersey Devil to come on the Connor Carrick podcast as a teammate. There's really nothing he won't do for you. That's the first of the 3 takeaways that I really gained from our conversation with Roons today. Is he was and is he's still playing. He is the type of teammate that in the lineup, out of the lineup, he's scoring or not, he genuinely wants the team to win. And in pro sport, when a coach goes a different direction and he doesn't think that you're in the best 20 guys, to wear a jersey that night to win a game, there's a huge ego blow, that goes on there where you want to be in that lineup, you want to be a part of that group. But for Kevin, he's someone that just has the emotional maturity and a true commitment to the team where he genuinely wants the team to win. I've always really admired that in him. Another thing I think we can all learn from Roons today is he has done an awesome job, from high school hockey on out, of adding value to his team, period. He simply has a knack for scanning the room and trying to understand what detail needs to be added to the team, where can he carve out some ice time for himself so that he can do some of the things we were talking about where he want to develop next in terms of, his high slot offense and being able to be a more dangerous offensive player with the puck. But I think he's done such an awesome job creating a role for himself as an energy guy, a relentless two-way centerman, in the NHL who can kill penalties. And then finally, something I really admire about Roons is he has no problem having to prove himself. He's got a low ego. He believes in showing his worth day in, day out. He's been handed nothing, and he's taken everything that he has earned in this game. And I mean that. He truly has earned it. I wanted to make sure that I helped him feel proud of himself for that, because he really has risen through the ranks in a way that, hockey's a hard game. There's so many good players. There's so much talent. There's so many players in the meatloaf of the NHL where you're not quite a superstar, and then things get, kind of gray on, who's better than who. And Roons has done an awesome job winning over coaches and winning over teammates and proving that he can help teams be better fit to win when he's in the lineup. So thanks again to all of our listeners. I hope you learned a lot from our conversation with Roons. I know I did. He's an awesome guy. I miss him terribly, as we're still hanging out here on quarantine. But thank you for joining us here with the Connor Carrick podcast, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.